Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the 6th game in the Smash Bros. Franchise. For a little reference on my history with the franchise, because I didn't have an N64 and I skipped over the GameCube for the PS2, the first Smash Bros. Game I ever played was Brawl. I remember going over to my cousin's house and playing it with her and my brothers. It was so much fun. Give or take a year later, I got my own copy and I loved Brawl. I know in hindsight the game is flawed, but that doesn't mean I loved it any less. Years later, Wii U and 3DS would come out, and I had a lot of fun with those games too. That was also the first time I tried playing Smash competitively, and honestly it just wasn't really my style. Cause I might as well also establish that I don't really care for fighting games. I've played Mortal Kombat and Injustice, and I'm just not very good at them. I played Blue Blaze once over at a friend's, and while I had fun, I've had no interest in actually owning the game. But what sets Smash apart from all of these games I just mentioned, and many more, is that Smash is a casual game. Anyone can pick up and play it. All you need is a few buttons and a joystick. That's why you can play Smash with a Joy-Con or a Wiimote. Also, there's no combos to memorize with 2 exceptions. It's easy to pick up and it's accessible to anyone. Of course, if you want a competitive scene, that's also there. When it comes to actual gameplay, this one plays the most like the previous one, Wii U and 3DS. So instead, I want to focus on the new. And when I say new, I'm not talking about minute gameplay changes or how characters have been slightly tweaked, but instead new gameplay modes and the like. There are 6 new fighters added to the game, and they're all welcome additions to the franchise. You have fan requests like Ridley and K. Rool, common sense additions like Inkling and Isabelle, and great third-party representation with Simon Belmont. Clone characters have been rebranded Echo characters, and there are 5 new ones, being Daisy, Richter, Chrom, Dark Samus, and Ken. Finally, as icing on the cake, all fighters from previous games have returned, which makes this the most eclectic cast of any fighting game ever made. All fighters have been rebalanced, and this game feels the most balanced of any one previously. When you start off the game, you do start off with less than a dozen fighters and unlock a new one every 10 minutes. I know some people want them all from the start, but starting small and building up to the full 69 plus roster does give a rewarding sense of progression. Plus it also gives you more time to experiment with fighters you normally wouldn't play as you work your way towards unlocking your mains. Unlocking new fighters can be difficult, however, and if you die after a while, you can refight fighters in the Games and More section. So you don't have to wait forever to unlock everything. You can now pick your stage before you pick your character, and there are over 100 stages made up from a variety across previous games, all unlocked at the start. With that being said, there are only 4 original to this game, and with the exception of Dracula's Castle, I don't really care for any of them. Also, every stage now has a battlefield form on top of its Omega form. You can now preset rule sets, which is a blessing, and it makes it easier to play with the rule set you want. In previous games, you'd boot up the game, pick the character you want, go into a match, and then you'd realize you forgot to change time battle into stock, and in this game that won't happen. Within this, there are tons of new rules like a final smash meter that adds a nice spice to the game. You can turn off stage hazards, which was a much needed addition. There's also a stage morph that randomly changes the stage, which is neat. Along with that, there are new ways to select stages before the fight. There are of course new items, which you can turn off if you want, if you hate fun. I'm just joking. There are new assist trophies in Pokemon, all of which are arguably great, even though I wish some of them were fighters. Along these lines, there are changes in assist trophies in which they can be KO'd as well, which I rarely do, but in the right circumstances, I guess it's nice to have. Tourney mode has returned, and while I rarely used it, it does make things more convenient. There's a new squad strike mode, which allows multiple people to play as multiple fighters in a row. The way I enjoy it though is tag team mode, which is one battle, but each stock is a different fighter. This mode was kind of experimented with in Wii U's board game, but it's great to see it here as a full mode. The biggest change between Ultimate and the previous Smash games is spirits. Instead of trophies, this time around we have spirits, which is basically like clip art or stickers. I know people are brokenhearted about this, but I get why they did it, and at the end of the day, collecting these is still the same. Collecting is collecting after all. What I do miss, however, is the flavor text that used to accompany a trophy. Now, I personally don't remember stickers in Brawl, but these seem to be kinda similar. There are 3 types of spirits: primary, support, and fighter. Primary spirits represent your power level, the amount of support spirits you can equip, and might have an effect. They come in attack, defense, and grab to form a Fire Emblem style weapon triangle. Support spirits have effects. Some of them give items, some give resistances to fire, some boost your stats, and many more do different things. Fighter spirits don't really do anything, and you just collect them for beating classic mode. Now, I can guarantee you some people aren't going to like the spirit system, and they're going to find it complicated or annoying. Personally, I'm indifferent to it. My main annoyance being that every time before a battle, battle, you have to go into the menu and change your spirits. There is an auto pick function to make this a little more convenient, but it never consistently gave me exactly what I wanted. Unless you choose otherwise, spirits are used in two modes: Spirit Board and Adventure. Spirit Board is most comparable to Event Mode from the previous game. There's a random amount of spirits that rotate every 5 minutes and a better spirit that rotates every hour. Each spirit has a challenge based around them, and you complete that challenge to get that spirit. The problem is, however, after you beat that challenge, you have to shoot the spirit to free it, and if you fail, you have to wait for it to come up again. While I hated the system of repeat trophies, this is, well, not as bad, it's still kinda bad. The adventure mode is known as World of Light, and just knowing the internet the way I do, it's probably going to be divisive for people, because it's not like Melee's mode where you go through the different worlds, or Brawl's mode where you have the map with the levels and the enemies and the cool cutscenes. Well, there is a cool map and some cutscenes. The entire thing is based entirely around battles. Every battle is a spirit battle, and when you win, you get that spirit. As you travel across the map, you can also find characters that you can beat up, and then you can play as that character. There's also the occasional boss battle in the like, but no spoilers. Admittedly, I've never played Melee's adventure mode, but if I remember correctly, it takes like less than an hour. Brawl's Subspace Emissary took several hours. World of Light, however, goes on forever. If you like non-stop battling with the occasional difference or challenge, you will like this. If you don't, you will find this repetitive, and I can't blame you. Personally, I think it's fine. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I mean, I bought a fighting game. I expected to do a lot of fighting. Classic mode this time around is a unique set of fights for each fighter. Every fighter has a different set of predetermined fights, and those change depending on who you play as. After a few fights, you do a bonus game which has you navigating a course to collect glorbs. It ends with you fighting Master Hand or any number of the different bosses from World of Light. The difficulty slider is back from Wii U and 3DS, and it's a great addition, this time based around a beautiful looking mural. Training mode has more detail than ever added to it, such as being able to see a move's predicted trajectory. For those who will use it, it's a welcome addition. All-Star Smash is back, this time based around fighting the characters in the order they were added into the game. Mob Smash has you fighting groups of Mii fighters. It's nothing that special. Speaking of Mii fighters, they've also returned, and while custom moves didn't return in this game, Mii fighters do still have custom moves. I know some people still don't care about them, but personally I'm a fan of their gimmick. But hey, at least they're finally justifying Miis on Switch. Lastly, you have Amiibo. Now personally, I hate these little pieces of plastic. That's why I own almost all of them. They work the same way in this game as they did in Smash Wii U and 3DS. While they're neat to have one or two specifically for your favorite characters, I don't recommend getting more than that unless you're an insane person like me. You may notice some of the modes are missing, and yeah, there's no Break the Targets, but let's be real, Break the Targets hasn't been good in years. And the bonus game in Classic mode is close enough. Home Run Contest is also missing, which kinda sucks, but it's technically not that big of a deal. There's a bunch of stuff in the vault, like tips, saved replays, and a record of everything you've ever done, but most of that stuff is self-explanatory, so I want to focus on three things. Under sound, you can listen to music, and there are over 700 tracks, so technically speaking, Smash Ultimate has the greatest soundtrack of any game ever made. However, that's only possible because it stands on the shoulders of giants. All of these great games with their great soundtracks featured in this one game. Well, except for Final Fantasy because Square Enix is dumb. No matter what type of soundtrack you like, there is something here for you. You can also create playlists, and carried over from the 3DS version, you can listen to the music with the system in a sort of sleep mode. The other thing that you may have been able to do in previous games, but I only remember in Wii U and 3DS, is the challenge board. Some of these challenges are easy and some are hard. They're divided into different boards based on what you're playing, with 3 boards dedicated to spirits. Because Nintendo doesn't do achievements, this is the closest we'll get, and personally I'm on board with finding interesting things to do to extend the length of the game. Brawl didn't have good online. I barely used it, but when I did, I remember it not working at all. Wii U had okay online. Sometimes it worked fine, other times it really sucked. The exact same thing can be said for Ultimate. When it works fine. When it doesn't and just one person has a bad connection, it screws up everything for everyone. I have heard somewhere that Nintendo was looking into using the money we gave them for their shitty online service to actually get servers for this game, but at the moment it's either still peer-to-peer disappear or the servers are just stuck in 1998. Another thing is, instead of for fun and for glory, you pick the rule set you want and it'll search for a battle with other people who picked similar rule sets. However, a majority of the time they just ignore it and put you in a 4-person battle with items on. I do hope the online will get better, especially because we're paying money for it, but knowing Nintendo, they're not going to do anything. You expect nothing and somehow you still end up disappointed. I said earlier that the music in Ultimate is only as good as it is because it stands on the shoulders of giants. And while that is true, I think that extends to the rest of the game as well. Because I'm just going to say it, there are no bad Smash Bros. Games. Yes, Brawl had tripping and it wasn't Melee, but that in no way makes it a bad game. Melee may be a great competitive fighting game, but that doesn't make it the second coming of Jesus. And while Ultimate may not be perfect, because nothing truly is, what makes it great is that it's learned from all previous games in the franchise. It adds and expands upon what works, while also leaving behind what caused problems in the past. That includes Melee's glitches. Every character, almost every stage, an adventure mode, a fine classic mode, and well, they need to fix online. But everything else adds up to one of the best games ever made. This is more than everything you'd ever expect from what Smash promises. And this isn't even including DLC, which at the moment seems to be promising a lot. Overall, I'm giving Super Smash Bros. Ultimate a golden. As per, it has more than earned its namesake. And it's not only the best Smash game, but possibly the best fighting game ever made. From here on, I don't even know if it's possible to make a Smash game better than this one, or more accurately, grander than this one. And hopefully this will be our Smash Bros. Game for generations to come.